to the Relationship Revivalists podcast. I'm your host, Jess, and I'm here with my amazing and wonderful husband, John.
Well, hello. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing, John?
I am doing amazing. Thank you.
Well, I wanted John to share some of his story today, especially because today we want to talk to you about don't judge your spouse by your past. And John has a really interesting, amazing story, and it starts out when he was pretty young as a teenager, and how he started adulting as a young man, and then how he learned and grew as time progressed. So I would like you to start sharing your story, John.
Okay, so let's just dive right on in. Like you said, I started out young. I had a lot of ambitions. I found a girl who I was just enamored with, and fell in love. We got married young, and we had a child young, before we were 20. So, when you're in that age group, the odds are all against you. And, you can say all you want that, yeah, I'm going to be the one that made it. And there are some people that do make it. Mostly those are the ones that are able to find help if they're running into some roadblocks. And at that time in my life, I didn't really have the resources or the people connections to do that. So we went ahead and we decided to call it, we got a divorce. And so when we got a divorce, we had a child, we had to figure out that part, and I just became the single dad and started working. Thank God for family. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
They really helped keep me off the streets, basically, because that's where I was at. I would be in a depression occasionally, and it wasn't normal. It didn't feel good at all. And so what I did after realizing I was in depression and I wanted some attention, I wanted some friendship, I wanted some way to, be out in the community. And rather, I just went and found another a relationship that I should not have gotten into. And here's why. So the emotions that I had when I got the divorce, the emotions that I had when we were still married from getting into a lot of fights, because we're young. We don't realize what we're doing to each other when we fight and say bad words to each other. And I'm not talking just swearing. I'm really talking about tearing each other down. Those things can be damaging much more than we know, and especially at that age. And so because of that, I got into another relationship later in my 20s that I shouldn't have done that. And that relationship was, I think it just put me more into I went deeper into the depression, I think is what happened. And I was very much, I am a very deep person. And there's probably a lot of people that are very deep in their emotions, but they don't know it because they've never gone there. And so for me, the depression was a time that I should have been using to heal my emotions. Men, I think, are guilty of not doing that mostly because, the macho thing. You think it's not macho to cry. You think it's not macho to show emotion unless you're laughing or telling a joke. So, if you're one of the guys listening to this, I encourage you to, and I'm just get into your emotions. Feel what you're feeling and get it out. You'll feel better. It's a cleansing. So moving on, after that relationship that I was seeing red flags, I got hurt. I got dug into more. And that was not the kind of relationship that I needed. I needed one that I could be me and feel safe that I could be me. And then vice versa, I could be able to show them that they can be them and not have to worry about me hurting her. And that just didn't happen. So dealing with the emotions and moving forward is what should have happened. So after I was hurt, we split up. That was probably a good move. One of the better moves.
So it sounds like you had baggage from first relationship that you never really got to unload.
Right.
Right. And then you collected more baggage. Emotional baggage is what I'm talking about. Emotional baggage from another relationship that you really felt hurt and torn down by. So by this time, you must have been carrying such a weight emotionally.
Yeah, that weight was something I never really knew about. Because I've not been really, I wasn't taught. And that was no fault of anyone really other than myself because I didn't dig into that. I would encourage anyone that's wanting to have a relationship to really dig into that, learn how a relationship is. And I suppose that's why you're listening to this podcast right now. So back into my story to tell you, I went through that terrible time. I took a little bit of time off and then I met someone else. I met her online. Things clicked, and she had some kids, and there were some issues, but there was nothing we couldn't get past. So, in that,
and she really helped you, didn't she, John?
Yeah, she did help me. She actually helped me figure out who I really am and who I really was supposed to be. And she helped me become more of a gentleman, really. She pointed things out to me like, oh, I should be doing this. And I thank her for that because now I get to do that with you, Jess.
So I'm pretty thankful too.
So, that relationship, that marriage that I was in would have still been going had she not passed away. So that was over 7 years ago. And I met Jessica about a year after she passed. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people are going to say, and I may get emails, I don't know, that in meeting someone so soon is just asinine. But, everyone has a different timetable of healing. I was able to use my knowledge and relationship with God to help heal my emotions. And that is what I'm referring to when you're doing your emotional healing. You put God in the equation and things can just hyper warp speed into wherever you want to be at any time because He is the master of time. So
when you allow God to heal you, He definitely can accelerate that healing, like John's talking about.
Yeah, so the acceleration, just pouring my heart out to Him, and I would attribute a lot of it to using my prayer language and really just connecting with God. I would feel things that were not good, and or that things would just be coming up and out of my emotions, and I would go in and I would talk to God about them, and they would get resolved. So, when Jess and I met, I was probably 85% healed. Jess found some stuff that would happen, and she's like, oh, he's not all the way there yet, but you know what? He's a great guy. So that's where I met Jess. And so through the whole thing that I went through, I learned that time was, in essence, helping me heal, and learning from my mistakes rather than just kind of existing through life and not really figuring out what did I do wrong. That is what really helped me advance through and learn how to become more relatable in relationships, and through that infused amazing love into my relationship with you, Jess.
That's so true, John. But it's so important to be able to learn from your mistakes and to be able to analyze situations like what did I do that I shouldn't have done? What did I do that was right? So you want to continue to do what's right, but not, you want to stop doing what you shouldn't have done, and so that's really how we improve, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And was forgiveness like an important part of your healing?
It was a very huge part of my healing. In fact, just recently in my studying and because health is a big part of who I am. I want people to be healthy. I want to be healthy. And I've learned that we say that we are as if it's already happened. But forgiveness of others is more for yourself than it is for them. So forgive others for what they may have done to you. Forgive others for things that just happened that you weren't approved of. And forgive God, because he really didn't do anything wrong. He's the one that set it up in the first place. He's a relationship God, basically, and wants that relationship with you. So, if the big thing that I can just tell you is forgive, forgive, forgive. We're in a season of thankfulness that we just passed here in America, and we're now entering into a season of a different kind of thankfulness by giving to one another. And we said at Thanksgiving that, hey, we're thankful for different things. And now we're proving it by giving thanks and giving others, especially our kids, giving them presents to open up and show them that, hey, this is a great thing to have and to be thankful. And yeah, it's fun when you're a kid. It's like, oh, I can't wait till Christmas comes because then I get to open up Christmas presents and I find out what parents got for me. All that kind of stuff. It's really a good thing. And
but then as we grow and mature, we change that into how can I give to others?
Right.
And we get happiness from other people's happiness as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you start learning that you want to be treated just like others treat you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The other way around, actually. You treat others as if treat others like you want to be treated is what I'm saying.
And so, John, would you like to talk a little bit more, since you've shared your story? It was a great story. And I'm so glad that I'm at the end of that story. But would you like to talk a little bit more about not judging your spouse by your past?
Yeah. So
how do we separate that?
Back in that relationship that I should have never even gotten involved in, I had some deep hurts from that relationship, and because of that, they never got resolved. And in the next marriage that I had gotten into, I started taking some of those things out on her rather than dealing with the emotional hurt myself. And so my suggestion, my lesson to teach, I guess, is in making your life a healed life, you're going to come across still some things that you didn't realize were there. And sometimes some of these things pop out of our mouths and they hurt people, and you don't mean to hurt them.
It's kind of like having an open wound and you don't realize it's there until it gets touched and it's sore.
Yeah.
Right? And then you might say something or lash out with your words.
Yeah, so we have to learn how to cover that wound up so that it can heal. And I believe a lot of that has a lot to do with forgiveness and treating those people that you love the most with the utmost respect and kindness and love. Because love conquers all, doesn't it?
That's so true. And also, John, it's not even just a romantic relationship that you can kind of have a past from, so to speak. In my story, especially when John and I first got married, I would something would happen and I would expect John to behave in a certain way or react in a certain way, probably because my dad would, behave or react in a certain way. I mean, he was a great man, all of that, but he would kind of blow up, so to speak. He would react with his words, and he could sound very harsh and loud and boisterous, and it wasn't a peaceful time all the time at home. And so if something happened that I thought, something bad happened or whatever, I would expect John to react that way in a loud, non-peaceful way. And then when he didn't, it really took me back. Like, oh, he didn't react that way. He reacted like a really nice gentleman, And so
it was culture shock for you.
yeah, it was, So it made me realize, wow, I expected him to act a certain way, and not a good way either. But he didn't act that way. He acted in a good way. And so it made me realize, wow, I cannot judge him by, even how I saw parents act or family act, So that really spoke to me too. And so I think we both kind of learned that you can't judge your spouse by your past, especially because, John and I both are on a quest for growing and improving ourselves and everything. And we were already on that path before we even met each other. And so it's unfair if I expect John to act a certain way when he's really already, not going to act that way.
Right. And you were at a point where you, early in our marriage, where you thought I should have been able to read your mind.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I am not a mind reader, people, just so you know.
And ladies, that's very common that we expect our husbands to read our minds, and they can't. Just like we can't really read their minds.
Exactly.
They can't read ours either. I thought maybe I could read his mind. That's why I expected him to act a certain way. But of course, I really couldn't read his mind either, and he didn't act that way. So it's important that we remember that they can't read our minds.
Yeah, it comes full circle.
Yep.
So I hope that my story has helped you in some way. It really is meant for you to take from whatever you can to help you in your relationship. If there's something that we can do to help you go deeper and learn something out of this, we could probably go and do a one-on-one with you and help you with that. But, just reach out to us on social media. In the show notes, there are links to our social media links, and you can always go ahead and get on to Facebook and at least Facebook and Instagram right now. We're working on other ones right now through the time, but Facebook and Instagram are the places to get a hold of us. And that, I think, wraps up for the week. We're going to see you in another week from today, which is 7 days from now. Isn't that amazing?
So profound.
Isn't it? We're in episode number 6 right now. We're going for 7 and soon to be double digits. We're really looking forward to that. We hope that you guys have a wonderful, amazing Christmas, and we will see you in the next podcast next week.
See you later.